Coming up on this Wednesday edition of Newsline at noon, the United States releases lower than expected job gains, reinforcing expectations that the Federal Reserve will keep its bond buying stimulus program for the time being. Spurred by the government's campaign to stimulate investment, Korean companies have decided to inject more than $9 billion into at least 5 regional industrial complexes in coming months. Plus, Syria's opposition coalition refrains from agreeing to the West's calls to attend talks on ending the Syrian war, saying the ousting of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad must first be assured. These stories and more on Newsline at noon.
Where's the best place for bibimbap?
Les Jeux Olympiques d'hiver se dérouleront-ils à Pyeongchang?
هل أنتم حقاً سابع أكبر مصدر في العالم؟
この歌手は誰ですか？你好，最近哪部电视剧的人气最旺？
Korea is attracting interest from around the world. The more you know, the more you want to know. Dynamic Korea.
Thanks for joining us. You're watching Newsline at noon. I'm Choi Yusan in Seoul.
Good to have you with us. Filling in for Mark Broom, this is Daniel Che. Let's start this lunchtime in the U.S., where fewer workers found new jobs in September than many had expected, indicating the country is facing an uphill battle to sustain an economic recovery.
But investors welcome the weaker than expected job report as it stoked expectations the U.S. Central Bank will further delay the reduction in its monthly bond purchases. Our Na Young-kyung starts us off.
The United States turned in a worse-than-expected jobs report, suggesting the country's economy was losing steam even before a budget fight led to a government shutdown. Employers added about 148,000 workers to payrolls in September, falling far short of the 180,000 that many had expected.
But you have businesses that were scared by what happened during the recession. The pace of the recovery has been disappointing, so they've been reluctant to hire. And also, I think you have concerns about the health care law that may be weighing on hiring as well.
On the upside, the number of jobs added were still enough to bring the unemployment rate down to the lowest level since November 2008. The unemployment rate fell by 1/10 of a percentage point to 7.2% in September. Job prospects, however, doesn't look too good for the month of October, as the 16-day government shutdown and lingering political uncertainties are expected to take a toll on employment.
In terms of jobs, there's no question that the shutdown, the uncertainty associated with the brinksmanship over the debt limit are going to, reduce the number of jobs we otherwise would have got in October, and it's a shame.
Investors, however, were upbeat as they expected the U.S. Federal Reserve to keep the monetary stimulus until early next year, given the poor jobs report. The S&P 500 hit yet another closing high at 1,754.6, up 0.57%. The Dow Jones and the Nasdaq also rose by 0.49% and 0.24% respectively. Na Hyun-kyung, Arirang News.
Korean companies have agreed to speed up investment worth roughly $9.5 billion. This comes after the government has streamlined red tapes as part of its campaign to promote investment. Hwang Ji-hye has the details.
The Korean government's campaign to stimulate corporate investment may be beginning to bear fruits. The Ministry of Strategy and Finance said Wednesday that several major Korean companies have decided to spend more than 10 trillion won, or roughly $9.5 billion in coming months to build new production or quality control facilities. The decisions came after the government took steps to streamline red tapes after hearing difficulties those companies faced. SK Global Chemical, a subsidiary of the nation's leading oil refiner SK Innovation, will invest $950 million later this month to build a factory in the southeastern port city of Ulsan. S-Oil, Korea's third largest refiner, will spend $7.5 billion next January to expand its refinery also in Ulsan. Hyundai Motor, the country's largest automaker, is due to break ground on its $560 million testing facility next February. The planned investments have been stalled due to tough regulations. The government has eased the regulations and revised related laws to speed up corporate spending on facilities planned for this year. President Park and his government, which has given top priority to stimulating investment, has found roughly $25 billion worth of projects being held up due to restrictive regulations. The Park administration has vowed to continue removing unessential regulations to promote investment. Hwang Jie, Arirang News.
Korea is formulating a plan to help small and mid-sized enterprises better adapt to its planned free trade agreement with China. Trade Minister Yoon Sang-jik said Wednesday that the trade pact would include a three-tier support system that helps businesses to prepare themselves to free competition. His comments were made during a meeting of the Trade Ministry's Committee on the Korea-China FTA. The committee also discussed ways to inspect agricultural and fisheries imports to minimize damage to Korean farmers while increasing trade between the two countries. The two countries began negotiations for the FTA in May of last year.
North Korea could wage war against the South without a consent from its allies China or Russia. This, according to the head of South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff, Choi Yoon-hee. The remarks came during a parliamentary audit Tuesday when Choi was asked by a ruling party lawmaker when and under what conditions a war could break out on the Korean peninsula. The top military commander responded that Pyongyang could instigate a war if it thought its security was being threatened, if there was a change in the current military status quo between the two Koreas, or if there was a fracture in the South Korea-U.S. alliance. A North Korea expert from Austria has published his review of a tablet computer produced by the North and released earlier this year. According to the review, the device is impressive technology-wise, but there's just one drawback: no internet connectivity. Our Kim Min-ji has the details.
Professor Lüdiger Frank from the University of Vienna in Austria has released his review of the North Korean-made tablet Samjiyeon. Professor Frank said in his review published Tuesday on the website 38 North, he bought the tablet in Pyongyang in September for about $250. The device that he purchased was the SA70 model released in March, which has a 7-inch screen and runs on Android. The professor said that the tablet contains a total of 488 pre-installed programs, including a multi-language dictionary, reference works, and e-books. The device also comes bundled with 14 games, including Korean chess and billiards, and the professor said the images are all of a high standard. The dictionary is available in 6 languages: Korean, Chinese, English, French, German, and Russian. The professor said that the quality of the dictionary was high, citing a large number of entries and dominance of English compared to other languages. The library also contains a wide variety of materials for the study of Juche, or military first ideology, and writings about the ruling Kim family. The professor pointed out that it would be a good source of information for students of North Korean studies, adding that he hopes North Korea researchers will be inspired to make use of the indispensable resource. However, the professor also noted that the device seemed to have no way to connect to the internet, nor was it really extraordinary for an Android in 2013. He added that the gadget was not available to the average North Korean. But he did say that the device was satisfactory in terms of the technology and noted how rich in resources it was, saying that it's quite impressive for a country that has been long plagued by socialist inefficiencies. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
For your fill of Korean and international news, join Chae Yu-sun and Mark Broom every weekday at lunchtime. Newsline at noon.
Plenary session this Wednesday and vote on the government restructuring bills.
And now on to the latest international efforts to end the conflict in Syria. The Friends of Syria group is meeting in London to try to keep next month's Syria peace conference talks in check. But that could prove to be difficult as the Syrian opposition has said it will only back talks aimed at President Bashar al-Assad's exit. Our Kim Young-gil has the latest.
Foreign ministers from the 11 countries of the so-called Friends of Syria group are meeting in London this week to arrange the Geneva II peace talks on ending the war in Syria, slated for next month. But they're having a harder time than anticipated. The opposition Syrian National Coalition says it will not participate in the conference if Assad's removal from power is not a stated goal of the meeting.
If the aim was to remove the criminal from power and the war criminals are tried, then we welcome Geneva II. This is our stance.
Another obstacle is that President Bashar al-Assad has indicated that he will not step down and even plans to run for re-election next year. But Western powers agreed that Assad should have no role in the future government of Syria and urged the opposition to join the talks. Britain's Foreign Secretary William Hague said the group's participation is vital, while U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry said talks are the only option.
This war will not come to an end on the battlefield, I believe, and I think most people believe. It will come to an end through a negotiated settlement.
As the talks continue, efforts to create a united front against Syria suffered another setback Tuesday when Saudi Arabia said it would no longer cooperate with the U.S. in the conflict. Saudi Arabia's intelligence chief has reportedly said the kingdom will make a major shift in relations with the U.S. in protest against its perceived inaction on Syria and its overtures in Iran. Kim Young-gil, Arirang News.
Iran has been sending out strong signals that it is ready to get back into the oil business as a way to mitigate long-standing sanctions imposed by the West. Reuters reports the country is reaching out to its oil buyers and is ready to cut prices if Western sanctions against it are eased. The report quotes one source as saying that traditional buyers of Iranian oil are making preparations to start buying again. The country and its oil exports have long been squeezed by global sanctions for its nuclear program, but recent overtures by the new administration could indicate that the country is ready to cooperate with the West. A new round of talks with the UN nuclear watchdog is slated for next week. Apple unveiled its new iPad Tuesday, which features a slimmer and lighter design just in time for the holiday shopping season. As Sun Jung-in gives us a closer look at the new device.
It's called the iPad Air. As its name suggests, Apple's newly released tablet is light, 20% thinner and 28% lighter than its current model. But the screen size is the same, with some of the surrounding bezel having been trimmed by 43%, giving users more room to play.
Thinner, lighter, more powerful than ever before, and incredibly, excitingly new in so many ways that it deserves a new name.
The device will go on sale November 1st at Apple stores in 42 countries, with prices starting at $499. As if that weren't enough for fans of the tech company, Apple also revealed a revamped iPad mini. The new device is physically identical to the miniature version of the original, but it too is thinner and lighter, and for the first time comes with Retina display. The new Mini will start at $399, while the price of the existing Mini has dropped to $299. Both the iPad Air and iPad Mini pack the same speedy A7 processor as the iPhone 5S and comes in two color options, silver and white, and space gray and black. Apple's latest release is sure to put pressure on its competitors, but with rivals Microsoft, Nokia, and Amazon all plugging rival devices in the coming months, it looks like the competition is just getting started. Sun Jung-in, Arirang News.
Discouraging news for Koreans looking to get hitched. It may require deeper pockets. An average cost of a wedding in the nation has skyrocketed to nearly $50,000 per person. That's almost double the average annual salary of a Korean worker. Our Park Ji-won tells us where all the money goes.
The Korea Consumer Agency recently conducted an online poll of 1,000 people who either got married or had children who got married in the past 2 years. The results show that the average wedding cost per person stands at slightly more than $49,000. The cost includes wedding meals and decorations, presents, and the honeymoon, but excludes housing. Men spend a little more than women on average because grooms tend to have more wedding guests and therefore spend more on meal expenses. The cost of the wedding depends on where the couple ties the knot. Hotels are the most expensive venues for weddings at an average cost of more than $22,000, followed by wedding halls, churches, and public places. And then there's the matter of where to live. Only about 11% of newlyweds decide to continue living at their current residences. The rest choose to either buy or pay jeonse, a Korean system of paying a lump sum deposit to rent apartments. The survey results show that those couples who decide to buy new homes spent about $256,000 on average, while couples deciding to rent on lump sum deposits spent about $145,000. 85% of the respondents in the Korea Consumer Agency survey said they felt that Korea's wedding culture is overly extravagant, but said they went through with all of it anyway because of social pressures.
There should be a change in individual perception or weddings. Most weddings in Korea are designed around parents or around leaving a good impression on guests. Wedding couples need to take more initiative by designing their own weddings in a unique and original way with a smaller number of guests.
The agency also urged the government to devise measures to support ceremonies at public places for those who want the wedding but not the hefty bill. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
A stop at a gas station in Korea often means getting the full service treatment, but more and more self-service stations are popping up around the country. Our Connie Lee has more.
Seek and you can now find. The number of self-service gas stations is rising quickly here in Korea. For the first time ever, self-service stations now make up more than 10% of all gas stations in the nation. Over the past 6 years alone, the number of self-service gas stations has increased exponentially, with just 59 stations in 2007 and more than 1,300 now.
Operating gas stations has gotten difficult, with stations not making much profit these days. With rising gasoline prices and increased competition in the market, it's hard for gas stations to survive. So self-service stations have recently been increasing since it cuts labor costs and other expenses that go into a full-service station.
It might be less convenient to pump your own gas, but it looks like more people are choosing these self-service gas stations for the lower prices.
Prices depend on the station and by area, but on average, self-service stations offer gas that is about 100 won cheaper per liter. That's a little less than 10 cents.
I think I save about 8 cents. I don't get the full service treatment, but I save money, so it's worth it.
For now, full-service gas stops abound in the nation. Customers can stay in their cars, have someone else pump their tanks, and also get a freebie, like a pack of tissues, for their visit.
There are plenty of customers who prefer receiving all the benefits at a full-service gas station. It's quick, easy, and much more convenient.
But many of these stations are now feeling the pinch. More than 600 full-service gas stations nationwide are temporarily closed or have shut down this year. So it won't be surprising if more people will now have to get used to pumping their own gas in the coming years. Connie Lee, Arirang News.
It's that time of the year when a growing number of Koreans head outdoors to take in the changing hue of nature, and more are choosing to fully immerse themselves in this scenery. Our Yoo-Yeon reports on the recent camping boom here in Korea.
This campground is right in the middle of Seoul.
Due to its location and its spaciousness, it has become a favorite spot for wary urbanites who no longer have to venture out of the city to get a breath of fresh air.
It's nearly impossible to book a camping site here because the spots fill up so quickly. I was lucky enough to get in today because someone canceled at the last minute.
Those who have camped out here say it feels like a well-earned break from the daily grind.
We live in an extremely fierce and competitive world. Coming out here in nature, I feel a sense of healing, so I keep coming back.
These urban campers aren't alone. Camping has fast become a popular leisure activity here in Korea. The number of campers in Korea has doubled since 2010 to 1.3 million this year. That, in turn, has given rise to a boom in the camping supplies market, which is expected to reach $560 million this year, a more than threefold increase since 2010. In fact, the whole camping experience has gotten more comfortable in the last 3 years, as campgrounds evolve to better accommodate their guests.
Each campsite even has a mini kiosk like this, so campers can easily gain access to electricity.
Experts say the camping boom comes as a part of a rising trend toward mental health and wellness, as more people feel the need to relax and escape from their daily routines.
What we're seeing now is youth unemployment, a rise in the number of homeless and early retirements. It's hard to get a job, and even those with a job are facing pressures to retire early. This is creating a lot of anxiety and stress. They are hurting, and they want a sense of healing through leisure activities like camping.
From outdoor enthusiasts to office workers, many people are trading in a typical evening out in the urban jungle for a night out under the stars. 유리안, 아리랑 뉴스.
It's now time for a weather update with our Lee Ji-yeon standing by at the Weather Center. Good afternoon to you, Ji-yeon.
Good afternoon, guys. I know it's lunch hour, but we're going to talk about germ for a while. Where or in which item do you think the most germs are hidden?
Well, they're everywhere. But I guess maybe the bathroom? What do you think, Daniel?
Well, I heard from some sources that there are some objects that has more than 10 times bacteria than some bathroom toilet seats. They say cell phones.
That's a good guess, right? Your cell phone and computer keyboard are the two places where the most germs are found. So experts recommend wiping both with wet tissues frequently. And most importantly, washing your hands with soap will kill 72% of the germs that accumulate there. And as we talked about yesterday, it seems like everybody's getting cold these days, right? And washing your hands is the best way to keep from getting sick. Well, today is the 18th solar term, which is Sangang here in Korea, and that means the late autumn has officially begun. Today we have a pretty mild afternoon with relatively few clouds, so it will be a good idea to go for a walk, have a jog, or grab some coffee and sit on a bench. Now, you will want to get out and enjoy the late autumn weather while you can. That's because starting tomorrow, the temperature is expected to fall across the nation. Cooler air will blow in and they drop down the afternoon highs to the below 20s in the central region. And on Friday, the morning lows will be in the single digits for the morning lows, and the afternoon highs will be in the upper to middle teens. So keep that in mind. Now, today we're going to have a stunning afternoon, and here are the numbers. The afternoon highs in Seoul and Daegu will get up to 22 degrees Celsius, which is 72 degrees in Fahrenheit, and Gwangju and Busan will make it to 23 respectively. Now let's see how other regions are looking. The highs in Jeju and Daejeon should be similar at 21 to 22 degrees, while Dokdo will get up to 19, but Mount Kumgang will stay on the cooler side at 7 degrees. Now that's all for Korea, and here's the global forecast for viewers around the world. That's all for me today. Enjoy your rest of the day, and back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you for that, Jian. And that's all from us for now, but you can always catch up with what's been happening on our website, arirang.co.kr/news.
Do stay with Arirang TV for more on the day's headlines.